This is the 2021 M1 12.9-inch iPad Pro, Apple's most expensive iPad yet, with the starting price tag of $1,100. And with that price tag comes three major changes: the new mini LED display, Thunderbolt ports, and the M1 processor that it borrows from the Mac. I spent nearly 2 months with this thing. Is it any good? And is it worth your time and money? Let's find out with a little review. This video is sponsored by DataCamp. DataCamp is an online learning platform that makes it easy to build data skills for professional or personal usage and is really easy to start. There are over 350 courses created by experts that you can learn from directly in your browser. DataCamp doesn't require any previous data skills to get started and has courses suited for all skill levels. You can take a free assessment, which will give you personalized learning recommendations, and you can utilize DataCamp to advance your professional career and build new skills. For example, I already knew how to use R. However, that costed me hundreds of dollars in my undergraduate degree. But with DataCamp, I can refresh my knowledge on R and learn brand new skills too, like how to use Tableau. Tableau confuses me, but I 100% know that it's a valuable tool if you want to properly visualize and present your data. In DataCamp's course, Introduction to Tableau, helps me learn more about how to use it and be way less confused about it too. I can use all the help that I can get. If you're interested in all of this, check out the link in the video description below, as well as the pinned comment. If you use those links, the first chapter is absolutely free. Anyway, back to the video. Right off the bat, you get the usual accessories: the M1 iPad Pro itself, a USB-C charging cable, and USB-C charging brick. It comes in space gray or silver. Design-wise, it's the exact same design as the last 3 years, with no noticeable differences there. Although it did gain a little weight and is slightly thicker than last year's model. I guess everyone's going through that pandemic weight gain. There's now a white Magic Keyboard that is compatible and backwards compatible with all the iPad Pros since 2018. Although, to be honest with you, I'd be concerned about how the white color holds up after a year or two. But if you own an old Magic Keyboard, it will fit on these new models fine. This model is still using the second generation Apple Pencil that just snaps into place. The back and sides of the device are still the squared off aluminum, and the speakers are still fantastic. All in all, appearance wise and function wise, this is the same iPad Pro it has been the last 3 years, but this time with a nice speed boost. So instead of focusing on every little detail about the new iPad Pro, let's focus more on all the new features, my personal experience with it, and if the iPad Pro can finally replace your computer. Let's start off with the new center stage feature. So if you're calling someone and leave your iPad in a single spot, you can walk around the room and do other things, and the iPad will follow you and track you so that you're constantly on the screen properly. This is a cool little feature that could add value if you video call a lot and don't like to stand in a single place. Maybe I just need to learn how to stand still. Next, we have the USB Type-C port. This year, it's a little different than the previous years. This year's model has been updated to a Thunderbolt 4 port, meaning it supports Thunderbolt accessories along with your typical USB-C accessories. You can still plug in a USB-C hub and connect a ton of things to it at once. Beyond that, there's a new mini LED display that's only on the bigger 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which is why it went up $100 while the 11-inch stayed the same price. This is how the mini LED screen works. A screen pretty much is cut into a giant sheet of graph paper with these super tiny squares that we call pixels. So when a screen is called Full HD, it's 1920 by 1080 pixels. There is a backlight behind these pixels that can't be turned on or off. That's why when you show a black image on the screen, it's more of a really dark gray. It still emits light. On screens like all of the iPhone 12 models, where it's AMOLED, each pixel on your display is lit individually. Which is why if you're on a true black image on your phone, it will appear as black, like as if your display is off. For mini LED, it's a nice middle ground. The backlighting is split into different zones. So remember that grid paper? Basically, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is split into 2,596 backlit zones that can be individually controlled for lighting. Meaning black backgrounds will be truly black. But if there's an object on the screen, since there's no one-to-one match of pixel to backlight, you might see a little bit of blooming. Blooming is where an object on the screen looks like it's glowing because the backlight zone is bigger than the object on display. This is exactly what happens to the 2021 12.9-inch iPad Pro in pure black backgrounds with a white moving object. There is some blooming that occurs and is noticeable starting at around 40% brightness all the way up to 100%. That being said, I don't think the blooming is a significant letdown at an average viewing distance, since you'd have to stick your face nearly smushed into the display to even see the blooming. But it is more noticeable on smaller objects like YouTube UI because it's just so much smaller than the backlight zone. So there are advantages and disadvantages that the new display brings that you should keep in mind. From my own personal experience, the display does make a difference. When you watch content with lots of black backgrounds, the new display looks fantastic. It really does. It looks as if that portion of the display is turned completely off. That being said, while it is a noticeable change, I wouldn't say that this display change alone is big enough to switch off of any of the older iPad Pro models for this one with a nicer display. Okay, enough about the new features. Now let's move on to my own personal experience with the iPad Pro. Well, it does what every iPad Pro has done since 2017, and it does it better than ever. It has a great buttery smooth 120Hz display, has good speakers, minimal lag with the Apple Pencil, and also, just in case you were curious, here's how the mics of the iPad Pro sounds with a ceiling fan going off in the background. The front camera and back camera are pretty good for a tablet. Personally, I don't think you should tote around a 12.9-inch monster of a tablet for selfies or tourist shots, but you know, you do you. No judgment here. Okay, maybe a little bit. It's a pretty good camera. It's super snappy as well. Video editing on the iPad Pro is good. Photo editing is good. It plays games better than pretty much any other iOS device, and it can max out all the options in Genshin Impact. You can even play the most difficult to run game on iOS there is, Stardew Valley. Joking aside, what enables this iPad to do all these things so well is that it utilizes the M1 chip that made its debut on the Mac Mini, MacBook Air, and MacBook Pro. Meaning you get all that performance in the body and operating system of an iPad Pro. This thing excels at doing anything and everything an iPad is supposed to be used for, and then some. But the M1 processor within the iPad Pro has been around since October 2020. We know what this chip is capable of. It's a fantastic little chip in the MacBooks and Mac Mini, but to be honest, the iPad Pro doesn't take full advantage of all of it. Don't get me wrong, I said earlier that this thing is fast, the fastest iPad around, and that's still true, but the software limits what this thing can do. In 2017, Apple put out an advertisement that became pretty controversial at the time, at least, to techie people. It was the "what's a computer" advertisement. With that ad, people started to think that that would be the direction of the iPad, to one day become the device that replaces your computer. And in a lot of ways, it has gone closer to replacing your computer since 2017. iPad's got robust multitasking capabilities, a better file management system, bigger display sizes, mouse support, a USB-C port, you name it. Every year, the iPad gets closer to becoming more computer-like. And every year, when someone looks at the latest version of the iPad Pro, they think, will this finally replace my computer? And for some people, a casual user, the answer is yes. The iPad can replace your computer. You can check emails, watch whatever content you want, download apps, play games, edit photos and videos, take pictures, print stuff, transfer files from one iPad to another, have FaceTime calls, and for the most part, it looks and acts like your iPhone too, so it's easy to learn as well. That's probably good enough for 70 to 80% of people. But what's holding the iPad Pro back for the remaining 20 to 30% of people is not usability. It's the apps. There's currently not that many apps out there that can take advantage of all the power this iPad Pro can offer. It's like shoving your car's engine onto a lawnmower. The lawnmower is really, really powerful now, cuts grass fantastically, and could probably chop up an entire tree now, but that extra power is kind of wasted because the lawnmower isn't equipped to chop that tree. Will the iPad Pro eventually get there? I think so. Each year, the iPad is getting closer and closer and covering more and more use cases people have for computers. But should you really buy an iPad because of promises of a brighter future? No, buy it because of what it is right now. The best iPad on the market with the best performance that can do a lot of things you normally do on your computer, but just not everything. I guess it's kind of conclusion time. Should you buy the 2021 M1 iPad Pro? The iPad Pro is meant to be the flagship iPad, right? The best iPad Apple sells. It has the highest specs, all the nicest features, and of course, also the highest price tag. If you have an iPad Pro from 2018 or later, or maybe even the 2017 one, or even the new iPad Air, no, save your money. It's better spent elsewhere. If you only use your iPad for entertainment or light computing, like emails, web browsing, stuff like that, get the iPad Air. It does a ton of things really well too. It's a great little machine at almost half the cost of the iPad Pro. But if you want the best iPad money can buy, need a larger display, maybe you're into drawing or plan to keep your iPad for as long as possible before upgrading, then I'd take a look at the 2021 iPad Pro. It's a fast machine, does anything you throw at it well, and at the release of this video, it's currently the best iPad out there. For me personally, if I didn't wait 2 months to write a review on this iPad, making it way past the return period, I'd probably just continue to use my 2018 11-inch iPad Pro just fine. Anyway, what do you think? Does the 2021 iPad Pro entice you? Or what are you currently looking at? Or does your current tablet serve your needs just fine? Or maybe you don't care for tablets? Let me know about all of that in the comment section below. And well, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you all next time.